Hi, it's Katina, and this is Ask a Clarinet Teacher. I'm here today with my trusty clarinet, and I'm going to start off our conversation with talking about long tones and warm-ups, long tones particularly. So if you have any questions, put them in the chat bar. It doesn't have to be long tone related, but I'm going to jump right in with one of my favorite warm-ups. So I'm going to start on full B right here. So I have my thumb down, register key, and I'm going to mute this so that we don't have to listen to that. But all right, I'm on B, thumb down, register, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, C key, and then the B. You don't need this one, but I'm just resting it there for ease of playing. And I'm just going to start with this B nice and long. Then I'm going to roll down to the B flat right here and back to the B. So this is a great warm-up. This was shown to me by Yehuda Gilad. He's a famous clarinet teacher out in California. It's University of Southern California. And what we're basically going to do is we're going to focus on the throat tones, but in doing so, we're actually going to play a B. So it's B, B flat, B, C, B. We're starting there is we want to get that throat tone sound, which can be stuffy, kind of dead a little bit if you're not careful, to match the ring that we get going over the break. Now we expand that warm-up down and up by a half step. So the first one was B, B flat, B, C, B. Now we're going to do B, A, B, C sharp, B. That I want you to listen for is making sure that sound matches all the way through. So in particular with me, for that one, I thought my C sharp was more spread sounding and it wasn't as contained and focused as the B was. So that would be a note that I would pay more attention to. So if we have the B, I like that blend there. So now I'm going to try B, C sharp, or B, C, C sharp. And what I'm doing to try and get that sound to match is I'm actually adjusting my oral cavity. This is what we talk about when we talk about voicing. So I'm actually changing my tongue position in there to see if I can change that sound outwardly as well. So for instance, you can hear that change, and that was me pushing my tongue forward and pulling my tongue back to just rearrange the shape of my oral cavity in there. And that's what I was doing to try and get my C sharp to sound more of the way that I wanted to, which is a darker, not quite as spread sound. So to continue on with this warm-up, we've got our B, and now we're going to go to a side G sharp right here. I'm going to keep my fingers curved and close and use some resonance fingerings for that throat tone there. And then I'm going to go to the D natural after I return to the B. I'll play it for you. So, in addition to listening to make sure the sound is matching and it's consistent throughout, I also don't want any bumps in the sound and I don't want any grunts in the sound, especially in between changing the notes. So, when I go from the D or from the B to the D to the B, I'm listening so that there aren't any grunts in there. Sometimes we get a pushing out with those, and I'm spinning that air through the clarinet so I don't get any grunts in there. So that's one of the things I listen for. In addition to the quality of the sound, it's the quality of the sound in between the notes. So when the notes are changed, so they get that beautiful, smooth sort of chocolatey, fluid sound that the clarinet can get. All right, we're moving on. So we're still on B. Now we're going to open G, and we're going to go back to B, and then we're going to do a D sharp right here, and then back to that B. Whoops, that was supposed to be a D sharp. I'll do that one again. So right there, that D sharp to that B exchange was heavy. There was that grunt in there that I was talking about. You can hear it very subtly, but that's what we talk about when we're talking about good sound quality. Those grunts in there, that can take away from it. So I need to practice that more. So the D sharp to the B, this time I'm going to try more air than I was doing. And that worked as well. Another thing that Yehuda Glad would have us do is he'd have us play really, really loud, even if it was ugly. And then take it back a notch to get that idea of getting that air through the instrument in there. That was one of the techniques he would share with us. What is the reasoning for using double lip in long tones? Okay, so I have a couple questions. So can you play a high note like H or C? So this must be, do you mean B natural? Because if we're talking in Europe, sometimes they call B natural an H. So I can play that one, I'll do that. And then what is the reasoning for using double lip in long tones? So some people will do that if you're biting. It's also a great way to get a beautiful sound in your mind. Double lip tends to give you a darker sound. So let's start with the double lip one. So I'm going to curl my top lip underneath my top teeth. And now I'm not. I'm going to do standard embouchure. Double lip. So double lip actually for me is a more ideal sound. It's a darker sound. And I know that's a big catchphrase for clarinetists, and I don't want to use it too much because you can go too far in the dark sound. But I don't want my sound to be spread is actually how I should be saying it. And double lip is a great way to get a not as spread sound. I'm just going to go ahead and say dark sound. Some of my favorite clarinet players used or still continue to use double lip. David Schifrin is one. I don't know about Eddie Daniels. I thought he did. So if you know, please let me know in the comments. So that's one reason that that people have their students use double lip in long tones. Because you get that sound that you want of that darker sound. Another one is if you're biting, I will have my students use double lip, and that stops them from biting because it hurts like hell if you're biting while you're playing double lip. I don't know so much about building strength in your embouchure. I think it actually might help getting a good chin position in there because you can't let it collapse the same way. Yeah, so that could be another reason why teachers recommend that one too. So I owe you a high B and a high C for Majed. Let me know if I'm saying your name wrong. So we're going to start here on B right there, and then we're going to lift up to that C. I'll just go ahead and play that. Right? But the trick is getting up to that note. So I just released a video on how to play high C, with how to work your way into that, but a great way to work your way up to that B and C is starting on a note that does work for you. Now this works the best if you're playing over the break. If you're not playing over the break yet, that's a whole other way of playing, and this exercise won't work for you until you can play over the break. So I'm going to start on an F right here because I know it's going to work. That grunt that I'm talking about in the sound, I kind of had it going F to G. I'm going to try that again with a faster airspeed. Now I'm going to take that F out of there. Take the G out. Take the A out. And then the B out. So if any of those don't work for you, go back to the previous one that did. Another thing, and I don't think I said it in the other video, I'm going to say it here, if the note starts with a grunt, that's a potential problem in the future. So if you're playing the F, G, A, B, C and it's fine, and then you start on the G and there's a grunt in that G, when you start playing, it's probably going to mean the A is going to be hard to play, if it even speaks for you. So that is one of the clues that something is up if you're getting that grunt and you're playing. You're not supporting enough and spinning the air fast enough. Hello, Clayton. Oh, so Eric, this would explain it. So we were talking about the double lip embouchure, and if your teacher studied with David Schifrin, then he definitely would know a lot about that because that's how David plays. And double lip is lovely. It's it just sounds really, really good. I think Frank Cohen also plays with double lip and has a beautiful sound as well. So if we go back to our warm up, I believe we left on B, G, B, D sharp, B. So let's try B, E, B, F sharp, B again, okay? So that one I was particularly unhappy with. There were a lot of spaces in the sound. So in addition to listening for fronts and the tone quality, you actually want to pay attention to spaces. So there were little bits of gaps where you could hear, I'll play it, it's easier to play it. Do you hear that? That's what we want to get out of there. So all right, so I got the spaces out, and I did that by crescendoing through those notes and really supporting when I was putting my fingers back down over the break. But on some of them, my sound got spread at the back of the note. So now I have to listen to that and fix that. So you can see there's so much thinking that we have to do when we're playing the warm-ups. You really have to be in your best mental place and not check out while you're doing this, because in addition to supporting and listening and paying attention to what's going on with my oral cavity, and the listening, you know, you're constantly analyzing what's happening, right? So that's part of our brain too. You have to pay attention to your fingers. So if you watched my fingers, you'll see that I do this fancy finger thing. I'll show you. I'm going to do the next one, which is B, F, B, F, B. It's a tritone. And these are called fancy fingers. And I've learned this from many teachers. So David Krakauer talked about it a lot. Ricardo Morales uses it when I would study with him a little bit. So what you're doing is you're trying to get a little bit of flexibility in your hands so they're not so stiff, right? And so that you're getting these pads of our fingers right in here. If you have a dog or a cat, go check out their paws. They've got these wonderful squishy pads in their paws. And that squishy part of your finger is what we're covering these holes with. And that affects our sound as well. So that's what that fancy finger technique is in there. And David Krakauer taught me that, and I believe it's a Leon Rushnov technique, which would have meant that was his teacher, and then my other teacher, Paul Green, would have taught me that one as well. More questions. Hi, cat lover. Eric, I really like how warm your higher notes are. Mine are shrill sometimes. Oh, thank you. That's really nice. That is something that I spent a lot of time working on, and I think I'll just be doing it forever because it's something that it means a lot to me. So the warm-up that I was just doing with this B, you can also do that to get a warmer sound in your upper register. So pick a note that in the upper register that has a warm quality to you, the warmest one you've got. So for me, So, you know, I go back and forth between the F and the E for that. Today, the E sounded a little warmer, and this warm up that we just did with the full B to get the throat tones to have that ring in it works for getting the warm sound in your upper register. So I would pick one of the notes that you like, that has a sound that you like on the clarinet, and this goes for any part of the clarinet, and try and match the notes around it. So we're going to do the same thing starting on the E. Yeah, you can really hear how that F doesn't match, right? So I changed how I blew the air for that one. I raised my tongue back a little bit, more of a U shape in there to get that F to match. So then you would expand that one as well, just as we did before. So instead of E, F, E, E flat, E, we would do E, F sharp, E, D, and back to that E. And you're always going to come back to that pivot point, which is the note that you like the best, that you want your other notes to sound like. And then I haven't gotten to the end yet, but I usually expand it down the octave, right? So we're on B here, so we would work our way all the way down chromatically by the half steps, extending down to this B, and chromatically extending up by the half steps to this B right up there. And that's how I do that warm up. Okay, Clayton, any tips on how to make a more vibrant sound for solos, as I have a piece called Clarinet on the Town? Okay, so more vibrant sound. Let me translate it a little bit. So do you want more projection in the sound? And do you want more personality in the sound? And do you want more, just more of a ring in the sound that you're getting than you're getting now? And then the question is, I'm going to ask what range of the clarinet that's in, because that, at first I thought, oh, maybe it doesn't matter as I'm answering your question, but it does, because it's hard to project this lower range of the clarinet as it is this upper range over the break, and then even more so when you get into the altissimo range. So I'm actually glad you picked a particular piece. So what I do also, so I have that tone matching warm up, that's one of my go-tos. But if I have a piece of music where there's a spot that's a solo, or it's a very hard technical lick in there that's really hard to play, I will take that spot and make that spot my warm up. So I have some music on my stand. No, not necessarily this would be, you know, the spot that I would do. It's my Percy Jackson book. Sorry. I have it in my studio, so when I get tired I can read it. But I'm going to grab a piece of music just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. So, for instance, right here with the 16th notes in the Rose Etude, let's use that as our warm-up. So it's 16th notes, and eventually you're going to need to play it fast, right? But if it's giving you trouble, you can actually make something like that your warm-up. So we're going to make it all a whole note. Speed it up a little bit, or play it as half notes, or play it as quarter notes, but you can do stuff like that and make those your warm-up. Why not? You need to learn those fingerings anyway. And one of the reasons that fast music is challenging for us is because we have to be able to land in the right spot. And then when we have teachers telling us, play it slow, play it slow, play it slow, and then they're all saying, play long tones, play long tones, play long tones, you might as well take some of that fast stuff and make it long tones too. So with Clayton, one of the challenges is I can't hear you, right? I can't hear what your solo is, and I can't hear how you're playing, so I'm kind of flying blind here. But when I hear people play solos, there can be a timid quality for playing, and I don't know if this is a solo with a band, so can you tell me if it's a solo with a band, an orchestra, or piano? But the big one is playing out, but yet keeping our beautiful sound going. And sadly, the piece of advice I'm about to give you is not going to work right now. And if you can, get to the hall that you're playing it in, and go there and play in that room so you can hear how your sound fills up that room or doesn't fill up that room. So if you ever get a chance to play it in an auditorium or a hall before you have a solo and nobody else is there, take it. I have gotten to know the custodial staffs at many a building because I just asked them if I can go in and play. And even playing in the band room, it's a bigger room. My room in here is small that I'm playing in here, and it's a trap, you know, you can get caught up in this smaller kind of sound. So try playing in that hall. And I'm going to show you another Yehuda Galad trick. I'm not supposed to show you all my Yehuda Galad tricks. He asked me to not show everybody all my tricks, his tricks, but I hope he'll forgive me for this one. I want you to find a spot on a wall. And these are post-it notes for something else, but I'm going to use it as a visual aid. And I'm going to put it right about there. And then I'm going to put my bell right about here. And then I'm going to play low E. And I'm going to envision my low E being tied to this. And I'm going to walk backwards. And then you can walk backwards and sort of pull your sound out of your bell and keep a steady sound. And that'll help you project and play with a much bigger sound as well and help you play out in your solos. All right, next question. My clarion, this is Eric again. My clarion A was a little grunty, but I had it overhauled. And my repairman said my clarinet was very leaky, so it was way too resistant, and I started biting more. Ooh, I hope you had that fixed. And also, that's a good point too. Get your clarinet looked at. I know a lot of us don't have that opportunity, but if you can have a professional look at your clarinet, a teacher, a band director, or a music repairman, to make sure it's not leaking or you don't have any cracks or you don't have any pads that are, you know, not lining up or worn out, that will help a lot, because a lot of playing problems I see are actually clarinet problems. And it's a real shame, because when it's a clarinet problem, people immediately assume it's a personal problem and that they're bad. They're bad musicians, they're bad at playing the clarinet, and it really isn't them, it's actually the instrument. So I do recommend getting that checked out. Also, another thing repair people can do if you're having a lot of grunts and you really, you know, you can't buy another clarinet and you love your clarinet and it's a clarinet related problem, is sometimes they can put a different tube in the, there's a tube right here in our register key hole. They can put a different one in there and that'll help. And I've seen other people do it where they put a tube in here where your A is, and that can help that too. It is more in the higher octaves. Okay, so if you have, we're going back to Clayton for a second about your solo. If you have a solo that needs to be projected up in the higher octaves, that's easier to do. So my advice would be to play it in that bigger room if you can. My advice always to everybody is record yourself. If you have a smartphone or any kind of recording device, record yourself playing. It's not going to be the same as the sound other people hearing. It's usually going to be worse, but the technology is getting better in the smartphones. But listen for those grunts and those spaces, listen for your rhythm, listen for your intonation. Also listen for the quality of the sound in general of what you're getting. So you can hear that sparkle in there if you want to, and then you can kind of play around with that. You can be your own teacher. You don't need, I mean, it's great to have a teacher, and I've had wonderful teachers through the years and I adore them, and they are more than just clarinet teachers to me. They're my friends and they're my mentors and they're like my uncles, and I adore them all. That part, I would never, you know, say, oh, you don't need a teacher. That part's the best, and I think everybody should be able to have that relationship with somebody. And teachers are wonderful and they're very personalized. If you can't get to one, you can be your own teacher, is really where I'm going with this. Record yourself and go back and listen to it and be that kind teacher to yourself that you would be to somebody else that, you know, would be taking lessons from you. Okay. Oh, hi, Florian. That's so nice of what you said. Clayton, it is with a clarinet ensemble. Oh, that's harder. Ask everybody else to play quieter, Clayton. Have them play quieter so you can play out more. Okay, this is Cat Lover. So I can make it over the break, but I can't play over B, maybe C. Oh, the higher ones. You're talking about altissimo range, Cat Lover. How do I get those higher notes out easily? Also, I can only play up to 3 sharps and 2 flats. Okay. Two questions. We're going to get to the altissimo range. So I'm assuming you're talking about this B and C, because if you're talking about over the break, that's this B and C, and it sounds like you can play higher than that. Let's talk about the altissimo range for a second. Another great long tone warm up right here. So we're going to start on E. Okay, let's play E. And then I want you to roll this index finger off your top hole right here. So now you heard that nice squeak grunt in there, and I know why that happened. It was because I couldn't hear the C sharp in my mind. So once you can hear those notes, it also helps a lot. So I want you to anticipate it. So C sharp sounds like this. Now I'm going to try that again. Now that sound is much more spread than I want, so I'm going to spend a lot of time working on that C sharp to get that to sound nicely. But right now we're just trying to extend our range. So you did the E and you rolled up there for the C sharp. Now we're going to do an F and we're going to roll to the high D. Now, if you noticed, I dropped my pinky on this E flat key for the D. That's going to help the pitch stay up, and it's going to help get that tone have more stability in there, and also the sound will be nicer too. Once you hit the D, the high D, you have to keep this pinky down all the way through, unless you're using some really wacky fingerings for your altissimo range and you're going beyond high G. But after C sharp, this bad boy goes down and you keep it down. Do not use it for C sharp. It's horrific. And I can hear it. I don't even have to see you. I can be sitting behind a screen and I know you're using that pinky in the wrong spot for the C sharp. I can hear it in an ensemble of clarinet players or in a band practice. So that really sticks out. It's like a quarter tone sharp. So you do not want to use this pinky down for C sharp. All right, so do you see what I'm doing with that warm up? So go to the notes you know in the altissimo range, and then this is the equivalent of our register key here. So we're just lifting up this finger. That's sliding off. That's a technique that I think Marcellus taught his students, and I've just learned it through the years from other clarinet players. All right, so if you go to F sharp and then you slide, that'll get you to an E flat. Clearly, I need to do this as my warm-up for the next couple of days because I'm getting a lot of grunts in there. So I'm going to try that again with faster airspeed and more support. So that's what helped get that grunt out of there. So you can continue that warm up, and I should write that one out and do a video about that. But so it'll work F sharp, G, G sharp, A. That's where it doesn't work anymore. Then you have to switch to the correct fingering starting on the A. And then B flat, you're going to have to do the, yeah, so you can do it to get you into the upper range for the E to the C sharp, the F to the D, the F sharp to the D sharp, and then G to the E, and then G sharp to F will get you there. And then the rest you have to just use this warm-up doesn't work for those. Okay. I need to learn how to play Pink Panther. I'm in 5th grade. I did a video of that already. This is very rare I get to say this. And it is in, if you go down, it was one of my live streams. So if you go to the home page of the YouTube page, you'll see it in there. And if I can remember, because everybody that's been coming here for a while knows that I have trouble remembering things, I can put it in the comment section below. But yes, I've done the Pink Panther one, so that's a good one. And you have a B-flat clarinet. Awesome. One of these days I should do just one of these live streams and bring out all my clarinets because I'm a nerd and I have so many of them. But these were great questions. And I think what I did with the play to high C warm up, that exercise there, I can do that for matching the tone over the break. I can do that for matching the sound in the upper register, but most definitely for playing into the altissimo range. I think that would be a helpful video for me to do. But thank you, everybody. You guys have been asking me really, really good questions, and I really appreciate it. And I hope you all are safe and healthy right now, and I will see you next Friday. Friday at 4 o'clock. Or if you also want to come on Mondays at 4 o'clock, that's when the bass clarinet tutorial videos are as well. So, and if you don't know, follow me on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter kind of maybe. All right. Bye everybody. Take care. Have a good weekend. Oh wait, I do it this way.